Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Claire. I'm glad you could make it. I hope you're doing well. I know I am, even though I'm suffering through the heat right now because yes, it is very hot in Vancouver, and yes, I am not living in an air-conditioned space, so this video is going to be short and sweet because the longer I talk and the longer I film, the hotter it's going to get. So yeah, I was unsure what I was going to be filming today because I didn't have a lot going on or stuff that I was ready to talk about yet. So I wanted to go back to a book that is one of my favorites that I don't see online a whole lot, from an author I don't see online a whole lot, but this book is really fabulous and I love it a lot. And that book is Goodbye to Berlin by Christopher Isherwood. So I was introduced to this book in a English class in my university times. So about, I guess it would be going on about two and a half years ago now, I took an English literature class, which was a 1930s literature in England, and it was a really fabulous course. The professor was amazing and introduced me to quite a few, actually, books that I really enjoy now. Three of which are like definitely up towards the top of my all-time favorites. And this is one of them. This is one of my favorite books. As soon as I started reading it, I immediately fell in love with it. The copy here, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, doesn't say Goodbye to Berlin, it says the Berlin Stories, because this edition is a combined one. Yeah, so the first half of this is a book I have not read yet, Mr. Norris Changes Trains, but the second half is the one I'm going to be talking about today, which is Goodbye to Berlin. That's the half of it there. So, what is this book about? It's a series of connected short stories, vignettes, novellas based on Isherwood's time in Berlin from 1929 to 1933. Even if you're not familiar with this book or this author, I would assume that you're actually more familiar with it than you think. The character of Sally Bowles is a famous character not only in this book, but later introduced to larger audiences on stage, but more famously on screen in the movie Cabaret, where she's played by Liza Minnelli. So if you're familiar, even vaguely familiar with that performance or that movie, then you'll actually know a little bit about this book. So yeah, interconnected stories. Basically what kind of holds this book together is the central character, Isherwood's character, and the central character, Isherwood's main protagonist, and the connection of Berlin. So all the stories and the German people that he meets, but there's no like coherent plot of like, this is the rising action, this is the conflict, so on and so forth. So if you are at all familiar with German history or larger world history in this time period, you probably know kind of what's at the center and what's really interesting about this book. Essentially, this chronicles not only an Englishman's time in Germany, but his time there at a very specific point in history. So this kind of marks the decline of the Weimar Republic, and really traces the rise of the Nazi Party and Hitler's rise to power in Berlin during this time, and it's done in a really fabulous way. I think what's so effective about this book and the things that I love about it are the themes that Isherwood so cleverly and subtly weaves through the narrative. And the first of that, as I've already mentioned, is the rise of the Nazi Party. If you have ever known someone in your life, or if you've ever been that person who's like, oh, things aren't going to get that bad again, or we would be able to see now if there's like a bad political party in power or trying to gain power, you know, all those kind of things. All you have to do is read this book and understand how quickly evil and greed weave its way into bad situations, and how subtly they can infiltrate and poison the minds of good people or just the community at large. This book progresses so slowly that you don't even notice the decay until later in the book, and you realize how far things have slipped out of control. It's really, really fabulous exercise on subtlety and tension. There's so much tension by the end of the book that you're really holding on to. And going in along this topic of the tension rising with the Weimar Republic declining and the rise of the Nazi Party. It's also how this book uses violence, and the way that that relates to the degradation of society, and how you can see really how in light of the the struggles, the depression that was the worldwide economic depression that was going on, how easily people can slip into violence, into reveling in violence, and use that to offset their own insecurities or their own madness at what's going on around them. And this book does that really, really well. The other part of this book which I really enjoy, which I think is done super well, is the way that Isherwood plays with gender and talks about gender in a really nuanced way. The male characters, the way that he discusses their masculinity in relation to power and greed, through Nazis in the book, also his own friends, how they interact with women and how they interact with each other is really crucial. And the character of Sally Bowles is super amazing. She's kind of like this dandy character, female dandy, an Oscar Wilde style. She's constantly defying the gender norms for herself. She's super independent. She is constantly defining herself the way that she wants to be defined, which makes her a super engaging and exciting character. So of course this is also balanced by the fact that she still has to deal with a lot of things that women would have to dealt with during this time. So it deals with how she uses her sex appeal, how she balances what she wants as a career or as her interests, but also how she reckons with and recognizes the powerlessness she has in certain circles, and the requirement of society for her to marry, or for her to settle down, or for her to not be living this extravagant kind of starlet lifestyle, which is really interesting as well. Of course, I don't want to go too much into the plot, even though there's not a ton of it, but I want to leave the actual the moments, the stories for you to discover if you choose to read this. That being said, there are a couple sections of this which are my personal favorites. My first is the Sally Bowles section, short story, novella, whatever you want to call it. And then my second one is the very end, the Berlin Diary, 1932 to 1933. The whole book is really fabulous. Those two sections are my personal favorite, and I would encourage you to check them out. But yeah, I didn't want to give too much away, but this book I think is a really fabulous one. I think it's incredibly timely, and it has been since it was published in 1939. I think this is a fabulous book to pick up at any time. It's great because of the nature of it being not too plot driven, instead character and thematically driven. You can pick this up, put it down, pick it up again, and still know where you're going. But yeah, I would encourage this to anyone who loves interwar fiction written in and about the period between the First World War, 1918, and the Second World War, 1939, at least on the European front. This is really fabulous. I have read some other Isherwoods. I would highly recommend his novella A Single Man, which he wrote later. It's about a man who has lost his partner. It traces one day in his life as he is handling this grief on a private scale, but also dealing with his own public life and outward friendships and things like that. It's a really, really fabulous book, and I would encourage you to check that out. I also read an early Isherwood, which is All the Conspirators, which was also fabulous. That deals with some of the same topics as this one in terms of the discovery, the reckoning with the waning of empire, and growing up and recognizing how things are different than maybe we were led to believe as young people or as children. So I would really encourage that one as well. And beyond that, I'm looking forward to reading his other works, including Mr. Norris Changes Trains. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today. I love this book a lot. I hope you check it out. If you have read this book, please let me know what you thought. If you're thinking of picking it up, let me know. I'd love to chat about it. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I upload videos every Tuesday and Saturday, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video on Tuesday. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment what you thought about this book, or if you're thinking about picking it up, and subscribe. It helps me along on my little journey. I've included below some of my links. I have my Instagram account, which you can check out, and my Goodreads account. I'm currently transferring to Storygraph, so again, if you have any thoughts on Storygraph versus Goodreads, or any tips, hints on that kind of stuff, let me know. I'm so far enjoying it. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.